The weapon no one could take from me. Nelson Mandela once said something that didn't really hit me until years later. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. When you grow up with nothing, phrases like that sound poetic, but distant. I never imagined that the one thing I could learn, the one thing I could carry, the one thing that no one could ever steal from me would become my greatest weapon. I grew up in a place where life was simple, but heavy. Where the world felt big and I felt small. Most people around me worked jobs that barely covered the basics. Dreaming wasn't a luxury we talked about. As a kid, I'd watch other children walking to school with backpacks, lunchboxes, and excitement. I remember standing there thinking, what does it feel like to learn something new every day? What does it feel like to belong in a classroom? For a long time, I believed that education was for other people, not for someone like me. But curiosity is stubborn. Even when life tells you no, curiosity whispers try anyway. I started picking up anything. I could read old newspapers, torn magazines, even food wrappers. I sounded out every word, one letter at a time. Most of it made no sense at first, but I kept going. Something inside me clicked. If I could teach myself this, what else could I learn? That spark changed everything. When you don't have a classroom, you create one. Streetlights became my reading lamp. The ground became my notebook. Life itself became my teacher. I learned math by counting anything I could. Steps, leaves, coins. I learned discipline by studying even when my eyes were tired. And I learned hope by believing that knowledge could carry me somewhere better. People romanticize education, but it's hard. Really hard. There were nights when I stayed awake longer than I should have. Days when I felt lost. Moments when I wondered if all this effort even mattered. But deep inside, a quiet voice always answered, if you quit now, you stay where you are. But if you learn, you move forward, even if it's slow. That was enough to keep me going. One day, I made a decision that still feels unreal today. I went to a local school and asked if I could study there. I didn't know what I expected. I just knew I had to try. Life gave me a chance. A small chance, but sometimes that's all you need. I promised myself one thing. If I get an opportunity, I will run with it. Starting school was tough. Everyone else seemed ahead of me. Everyone else had things I didn't, better clothes, better books, better confidence. But every day I reminded myself, education weighs nothing, so I can carry as much as I want. I studied at lunch. I studied late at night. I studied until the things that once scared me became the things I understood best. I wasn't competing with others. I was competing with who I was yesterday. The day I finished high school was one of the most emotional moments of my life. Not because of the diploma, but because it proved something. I wasn't trapped. I wasn't stuck. I wasn't defined by where I started. Education didn't just move me forward, it expanded the size of my world. I earned a scholarship to college. And stepping into that campus felt like stepping onto another planet. In the city, everything moved faster. People talked differently. Expectations were higher. I worked part-time jobs, studied after midnight, slept less than I should have, struggled more than I admitted. But I stayed focused because I understood something important. Success isn't loud. It builds quietly, one page, one lesson, one day at a time. Graduating wasn't the victory. Becoming capable was the victory. When I entered the workforce, I realized how powerful education truly is. It gave me confidence. It gave me opportunity. It gave me the ability to make choices I never had before. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't surviving. I was living. When I returned home years later, I saw my old neighborhood with different eyes. I realized something important. I didn't want to be the only one who got out. I wanted others to rise too, so I started a small learning center. Just a few kids at first. Just a few books. Just a few lessons. But hope spreads quickly. Those kids reminded me of who I used to be and who I fought to become. Today, when I look back on everything, I understand Mandela's message clearly. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, not because it makes you smarter, not because it gives you a job, but because it gives you the ability to rewrite your story. Education doesn't just change the world. It changes your world first. I'm not extraordinary. I'm not special. I just picked up a weapon that was within everyone's reach and I refused to let go. And if you're listening to this right now, remember this. Your life can change the moment you decide to learn. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Education changed my world. And it can change yours.